probably, one of the best teams in the AFC, if not at the top with how they performed. They had a good game. We talked about it at the preview. They're facing the Steelers. This is a true test. Are they going to be able to do it? And they showed that they are one of the best teams in the AFC.
Yeah, not only did they show they're one of the best teams in the AFC, they went into Pittsburgh in a tough, rainy environment. And it's really when you have these Florida teams, you have these warm weather teams, you're like, how are you going to perform when it gets a little bit cold, a little bit rainy? Trevor Lawrence did have an interception in this game where you're kind of like, ugh, but Josh Allen does. Patrick Mahomes has some of those interceptions. So it's like, it's not like great quarterbacks don't have interceptions, but he was able to stay consistent in this game, do enough to win. And then what I said when I picked the Jaguars to win this game is I think the matchup of the Jaguars defense versus the Steelers offense is going to be much better for the Jaguars than the Steelers defense versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, because we're now seeing Travis Etienne start to play out of his mind. He looks like the resurrection of Reggie Bush at this point. The way he's able to get out of the backfield, having that massive touchdown pass from Trevor Lawrence where he's able to get behind the defense. And then you have Evan Ingram stepping up now, who's kind of out of it. And it felt like they were forcing the ball to Calvin Ridley to start the year. They really want to make an effort to get him involved. Now it just feels like Trevor's like, okay, I'm going to read the defense now, go through my progressions, and whoever's open is going to get the ball at this point. I'm not going to try and force the ball to Ridley. Not going to try and force the ball to Kirk. Now you're starting to see a complete offense just go through their game plan. And this is a team also that started 1-2, got blown out by the Texans, and really the issue with them was it felt like collectively they would turn the ball over. You'd have a Lawrence interception here. You'd have an Everton Ingram fumble here. You'd have a Tank Bigsby fumble here. And it's like collectively it wasn't all on Trevor. You just have a few different guys, and then their defense was always solid. They should have won that Chiefs game too. So it's like, this is a team that's coming alive at the right time. They came alive around this time last year, where after Week 9, Trevor Lawrence was the best quarterback in football last year, at least QBR wise, touchdown to interception ratio. So this is a team that no one wants to face. No one is talking about. They're still kind of the overlooked team as far as the NFL standings. You still have people focused on the Bills, Chiefs, and Bengals, and Miami even. People don't talk about the Jags as much as they do the Dolphins, but Trevor is here. He's coming for the MVP, and that defense, albeit against Mitch Trubisky and Kenny Pickett, you still have Deontay Johnson, Jalen Moore, Najee Harris, and George Pickens on that team. So it's like holding the Steelers to 10 points in Acrisure, formerly Heinz Ford. I thought that was really impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with the Jags, my takeaway is like their defense has stepped up the last couple of weeks. They shut down the Saints offense, but I look at them along with the rest of the AFC, and it's like the Bills, they had a couple of clunky games against the Patriots and Giants. The Dolphins, they seem a little gimmicky. While I still think they're a good team, it seems like they're a team that you can expose with some pressure. Mm-hmm. And then the Chiefs, the receiver core has really kind of, worried me a little bit. Rashid Rice is your number one currently. Not the prettiest things, especially with, Travis Kelce being hurt not once but twice already this season.
Yeah.
He's getting older. I don't love that either. And then, the Bengals started off slow. You can never bank on the Browns ever. And then really the only other team I can really shout out is the Ravens at that point. So like the Jags, they're up there with some of the best teams, and they look the most sound currently with them and the Ravens. I think those two in the AFC are currently playing their best football at the moment in time.
Yeah, and I like that September they went 2-2. People are kind of panicking. They're like, oh, well, Jags regressed. They're not going to be the same team, but it seems like each week they've gotten better at something. And it's like Trevor Lawrence is still the chosen one. He was the best player in high school. He was the best player in college as a freshman, which is unheard of at the quarterback position. And then he came in, survived Urban Meyer, gets to the playoffs last year. And the thing with the Jacksonville Jaguars is they were a year early last year. They weren't supposed to make it to the playoffs and knock off Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert was seen as the second coming. He was supposed to be the guy that was going to compete with Patrick Mahomes year in and year out. He was going to be the guy who's like, who's better, Herbert or Burrow, Herbert or Josh Allen? Now it's like Trevor Lawrence is putting himself in that conversation. I love what Doug Peterson is doing. You have the creative play calling now where they do that laterals and end arounds in the backfield. You have the flea flicker still with that offense. So the offense is fresh and creative, and I like that they just do enough to win the game. It's like we don't need a expose all of our cards. We don't need to show all of our cards now. We can just get better and better week in and week out. And that defense, it's not the best defense in football, but all you need for that team is a bend but don't break defense. And I think that defense has gotten better each week along with the offense, and we haven't even seen them hit their peak. And it seems like this is a team that's going to peak in November and December because Trevor has the arm to win those cold, windy games and go out there and make a play.
Yeah, and he's proven that already, even last year. He did it a couple times last year in some big games. So definitely capable. I mean, and he's another guy that, like, he gets down in a game and he's not actually out. Between the Ravens game, between the Cowboys game, and especially that playoff game against the Chargers, where he threw 4 picks and he still came back and played a great second half. So the guy you can't really count out. So I give credit to the Jags. I give credit to Trevor.
And Doug.
Yeah, and credit to Doug Peterson as well, guy who outcoached arguably the greatest coach in NFL history in a Super Bowl. So credit to the Jags. I think that they're trending upward, and maybe they make an appearance on the Brickyard's top 5.
Yeah.